Okay. Hang on just a second now. Hang on. You ever have one of those mornings where you make one little shift physically, and then everything falls on the floor? It just happened. Luckily, it wasn't any of the coffee. That's a good thing. Hi, it's Mike Austin. This would be your morning wake-up, 1320 WILS on a, and I think the fog pretty much is burned off that I saw on the way in this morning. We're not worry about that at all. Throw it out there. They still have it on the forecaster, so I'll say it too. But hot and humid, sticky and muggy again today. A lot of breathable fabrics if you're getting dressed, but a beautiful weekend. You couldn't ask for a better weekend weather-wise. Are you a likable person? Are you going to be at a cookout, at the fair, at some forum, wherever you go, and you're introduced to someone, or you're just interacting with friends, relatives, whatever? Are you likable? What does it mean to be likable, even? There's got to be certain traits. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services, joins us every Tuesday about this time for a little free self-help. Being likable. He's a likable man. Doc Braccio, I like you. You're a likable individual. How you doing?
Well, listen, I've got to tell you right away, it's always makes you likable when you are interested in caring about others. The thing that strikes me as interesting, Mike, and we've talked about this before, it's just amazing how many people say they'd like to be likable, but are not willing to make the changes it would take to be likable. Persons who if you just focus on yourself and have no interest in getting to know what other people are thinking and feeling, well, that's not a likable person. They're also often oblivious to the fact that being likable requires that you care for others and not expect others to just focus on them and what their needs are. And unless you're willing to separate your needs and try to really take into account the needs of others in relationships, you're not going to have meaningful friendships, and you're not going to be likable. Whether a person is a narcissist or not, if the focus is only on them and what they're interested in, they have no empathy for others, well, they're not going to be likable. It's also true a person who's very negative and expects others to be negative with them will not be likable and will clearly steer people away from them. Now, what I'm saying may seem obvious, common sense to many, okay? Well, it's evident that, Mike, that many persons really don't understand this. They continue living a life of not being likable, not understanding why, and not being happy about it. That they still, find fault with others for not meeting their needs, and they just are complaining about, people don't understand them. Well, people have to make choices. You have to choose that you're going to make some choices if you want to be likable. I've been amazed over the years how people will just say they're not likable. They'll talk to me and say, why aren't they that likable? What is it? And, they'll almost say it in a way that if they were reading a phone book, they'd make you mad, something rather just they come across that way. So people have to make changes, okay, in the way they approach things. And if you're going to do this, you're going to have to be accepting and friendly with others. You're going to want to know more about what's going on in their lives. You're going to want to hear their views on life. You're going to have to be accepting of the views, even if not in full agreement. You've got a desire to know a lot about the people you're interacting with, and you have to work on active listening to really understand really what the person's saying and trying to explain. Genuine caring for persons. You have interactions. You have to show empathy and understanding, and you've got to be humble and realistic about yourself. Make good eye contact, and really make sure you don't fall into back to just wanting to talk about yourself. And, it may sound funny, but there are a lot of people that, unless they're the focus, that they just can't tune into people. And if you make these changes, really can be very difficult, because once you tell a person or help, try to help them and just say, you really have to change the ways you approach life. Well, to them, it can all of a sudden look like, kind of climbing Mount Everest without climbing equipment. Okay, the point is, if you're not happy and want to be likable, then you really have to really make some changes. You have to really work at it. And this is just right for people. But if they really want to, can they do it? Well, Mike, I can guarantee you, yes, they can. I've worked and known many people over the years that have just kind of taken a time out and said, hey, what am I going to do? Why don't people like me? Okay. Now, some people don't care. There are curmudgeons or people that really don't care. But for those that really do would like people to like them, well, they really do have to start learning to focus not just on themselves and even practice when they meet people to find out more about them and try to, figure what makes them tick and find things in them that are positive and not just keep focusing on themselves. So these are really important things to do. And if you do have family and some friends that still like you to some degree or are willing to work with you, you can tell them what you're trying to do and try to get some advice and help from them in interactions. And you can always go to a therapist who is experienced with this if you still are having problems and you can't do this. But the main thing is, if you're not likable and you want to be likable, there are things you can do. And part of it is just caring for others and wanting to know what's important to them and tuning them in. And Mike, it's just hard to believe how many people can't do that, and they just want to focus on themselves, and they may be negative, fault-finding, gossiping, and then they wonder, well, golly, why don't people like me? What's wrong with them? And then you kind of but then once they're willing to accept they have some issues, then they can move forward. But you've known people like this, have you not, in your life?
More and more. Yep. I blame some of this, especially we've got a whole generation of people who are all, and it's a broad generalization here, but
I understand.
Focusing in on, when they're doing the social media and the influencing online and can't interact. We've talked about this as far as job skills, the soft skills in the workplace. Being likable is number one right there, and these all fall into it. Humility, being positive, being friendly, being caring about someone else. Being genuine. Hondo talks about that all the time.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I think and your point is good. If you're basically just dealing with computers and that's how you interact, then that is going to be an issue. You're not going to have, like you say, the soft skills, the ability to interact, to be able to pick up a sixth sense on what people are thinking and feeling. And it's important because if you really want to be a friend and enjoy people, you have to really want to do that. You don't want to just say, hey, I'm terrific, I'm the biggest, I'm the best, I'm ahead of all the rest, and you're lucky to be around me. Okay, that can get pretty tiring. So if you want friends, you've got to be willing to share back and forth. In fact, even for a while, you ought to be working at just wanting to make sure that you focus on the person you're talking to, because you're not going to make enemies, and you will be likable if people see you do care and you do want to find out about them and in your interactions. And if it's just about you, that can get pretty tiring. Like, nice to see you today. What's going on? Let me tell you what's going on. It's going to take me a half hour. You're going, oh my goodness.
And you were right early on when you said, I think anyway, you're the expert, but you can learn these skills. These are learnables. There used to be schools, weren't there, like poise and schools like, what am I talking about? Well, I can't think of the names of them, but there would be classes you could take on poise and on posture and body language and all of that.
Well, that's true. And then, there also are, people will get together in terms of trying to learn how to be positive, how to be Dale Carnegie courses. I mean, where you do it, but a lot of it is just common sense too. But you're right. There have been in the past where people are really taught how to have poise and given expectations in jobs when people would be expected to dress a certain way or behave in a certain way, look a certain way. I'm not a person who's into rigidity on things, but I do feel if you want to have friends and you want to be a likable person, you have to be likable. You can't be.
What was the book? What was the book? How to Make Friends and Influence People. There it is.
There's Dale Carnegie. And by the way, those what he wrote back in this one of the 20s, whenever it was, that's as meaningful now as it was when he wrote it. And it's really kind of common sense. If you're genuine, you care about others, you want to learn about them, and you can find positive things and mention it to them in your interactions, You'll be likable, Mike. You're a very likable guy, actually, if I can give you a compliment.
When you hang around me a little bit longer, then you won't be.
Well,
you talk to some of my family, they'll tell you, nah, not so much. But, you know.
Well, maybe they're not likable, Mike. How does that sound?
Oh, I'm using that today. All right. Dr. John Braccio, Regional Psychological Services, as always, very helpful. Be likable, people. Just be likable. All right, Doc, we're up on time. Appreciate it. We'll talk next week. Thank you.
Good talking to you, buddy. Bye-bye.
See ya. 1320 WILS. Oh, darn it. I meant to ask him what his favorite. Did he like chicken wings? Do you like the hot sauce? We're going Chicken Wing Day. Today is National Chicken Wing Day. Believe it or not, Fox News says Tanya Powers is going to cover that for us next. 1320 WILS. Mike Austin back with your morning wake up just a sec.